Are you looking at the Make website and thinking about buying a Carvera Air? Before you buy it, you're going to want to watch this video. I'm going to walk through all the extra costs you might not be expecting. So to start with, the machine comes at a fairly hefty cost, but it does have quite a few unique features, such as a sturdy cast frame, a fully enclosed work area, a quick tool changer, automatic probing and leveling like a 3D printer, a fourth axis, a laser module, closed loop steppers, and a build volume of about 12 by 8 by 5. So I'm not being paid to say this, but honestly, that's a pretty solid value for everything that you're getting, but it definitely does come at a cost. I was lucky enough to grab mine during the Kickstarter at a huge discount. Right now, it normally sells for around 3,000 US dollars, but sales are pretty common, and at the time of recording, it's on sale for 2,500. And all the costs I'm going to be going over in this video are going to be in US dollars. So to unlock the full capability of this machine, you're going to need to get a couple of optional add-ons. If you want to do fourth axis machining, that one's going to cost you $500. If you're going to do some basic laser engraving, that's going to cost you $150. If you're thinking of making PCBs at home, the pack itself is going to cost you $400. So that's a total of $1,050 extra right off the bat if you want to get all the capabilities of this machine. There's also a bundle deal for $4,050 for the regular price, but it's currently on sale for $3,300. So you get to save a little bit of money if you buy everything. So keep in mind, this only comes with a starter set of bits for each one, so you're going to want some extra bits. So you're going to want to budget probably another $120 to $200 if you're buying it from the Make website because they have some bundles, or you can go on Amazon and get some cheaper alternatives. Additionally, if you want to use some different size end mills, like a 1/4 inch, or 6mm, 4mm, or 3mm, which are the ones they offer, you're also going to need to buy additional cullets to make them work, and those cost $40 each. Of course, not everyone's going to need all of these, so you can scale up as your projects demand. So maybe you don't need a laser module right away, or you don't need to make PCBs, and that comes down the line. You can always buy those afterwards. And you can always buy the specific bits you need for each job, so you're not buying ones that you're never going to use. So if you're cutting wood or plastics, dust collection is going to be a pretty important thing because you don't want all that stuff in the air. So Make is now selling a compact desktop unit of the vacuum for $600. So this one's going to include a HEPA filter, a dust cyclone, and some other things. So it's pretty expensive for a vacuum, but it's nice and small and it gets the job done. You can also go the DIY route, which is what I did. So I made a video called the DIY Cyclone Dust Collector Mount. So what I did is I took a shop vac and attached a dust cyclone to it. And this one comes out to around $300. So the major disadvantage of going the DIY route is, depending on the size of shop vac you have, you may or may not have space for it because some can get pretty big. So if you go the Make route, it's going to cost you $600, and if you go the DIY route, it's going to cost you $300. So I hope you're enjoying the video so far. If you are, please subscribe, leave a like or a comment. So now, if you're going to want to be cutting aluminum, you're going to need an air assist to clear the chips and keep the end mill cool. So Make doesn't sell a kit or anything for this, so you're going to have to do a DIY job for this one. What I did is I went with a 0.2 horsepower air compressor from Amazon. So it's quiet, compact, and hits the 50 psi requirement needed for the Carvera Air. The only tricky part was adapting the threads from the airbrush to work with an 8mm tube. So I was able to get the right combination, and this one ended up costing me around $150, so it's a bit cheaper than buying a vacuum. The other option is going with a standard air compressor you can buy at a hardware store. So the downsides of these are they're fairly large and they get pretty loud, but you can probably make these work as well. So in my next video, you can take a look at me cutting some custom plates for my 3D printer build using this air compressor setup, and I'll let you know how it goes. So the next thing you might possibly spend money on is the CAM software. So the one that's included with it can give you some issues sometimes depending on your setup. I've had some issues on Mac, I've had some issues on Windows, but the software is still in beta, so it might be fixed over time, but you might potentially want to invest in Fusion 360 to use its CAM or VCarve instead, and both of those will run you around $400. So one of the final hidden costs you're going to find with the Carvera Air is the time investment. So unlike 3D printing, CNC machining requires a lot more forethought and planning, just because a lot more things can go wrong, end mills can snap, parts can break, and things can go bad pretty quickly. So the Carvera Air is definitely one of the more easier CNCs to use, but learning how to get the most from it is still going to take a lot of time and patience. So if you want to cut the occasional part, outsourcing it might make more sense, like sending it to a local shop or getting a place like PCBWay to make your parts. But if you're excited to learn CNC and want a flexible desktop machine, this is absolutely worth the investment. So in the end, to get a fully capable setup, you're realistically looking at about $3,500 to cut plastic, wood, and aluminum. If you want to have every single capability of this machine, you're going to be looking at around $4,005 with every accessory and feature. That's without factoring in sales, which means you can save a significant amount of money. So, is it worth it? For me, absolutely. But make sure you weigh the true costs before you buy. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you next time.